Every year in the United States, we celebrate Mother's Day on the second Sunday in May. So in honor of mothers and mothering, today we talk about expressions that use the words baby, child, or kid. Babies. Babies need lots of love, care, and attention. Most new parents spend every waking moment caring for, worrying over, and thinking about their baby.
This applies to other things too. In American English, anything that you have focused and worked on for long periods of time can become your baby. Let's say your friend Sam is opening a new coffee shop. He has invested his own money into it. For months, he spends all day, every day, getting the shop ready for customers. In the evenings, he works on hiring, advertising, and menu options. And at night, as he tries to sleep, he worries about it. He really wants it to be a success. So, when Sam's friend asks about the progress of the business, she could say, "So, how's your baby coming along?" Yes, using baby in this way is slightly informal. But it is very common and okay to use in just about any situation.
The opposite of caring for a baby would be throwing it out with its bathwater. What? That is terrible, you might be saying. Yes, it is terrible, except when we do it in conversation. Then it is a useful expression. Throwing the baby out with the bathwater means to get rid of all of something, like the baby and the water it was bathing in, even though some parts of it were valuable and definitely worth keeping, like the baby. We often use this expression when we advise people to not act rashly or go to extremes.
For example, let's say a married couple has been working with a designer for months on redecorating their home. They choose furniture, carpeting, and wall color. But then suddenly, the designer pulls out of the project. The husband and wife are upset. The husband does not want to start from the beginning. He didn't enjoy doing it the first time. But the wife says, "Look, there's no need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Let's keep all things we have already chosen. We can hire a new designer just to help us put them in the house. Problem solved."
Not all expressions related to children are actually about children. Some of them are about adults. If an adult is a babe in the woods, he is defenseless and naive. He is easily fooled, and nobody expects much from him. The opposite of a babe in the woods is a veteran, someone who is seasoned or experienced. For example, the law office had mostly seasoned professional lawyers. But one young man was just out of school. He did not even know the most basic rules for the courtroom. As a result, he lost his first case. The judge called him a babe in the woods.
Such a person is different than a new kid on the block. A new kid on the block is simply a newcomer to a group of people who know each other well. Here, block means part of a neighborhood. When you are the new kid on the block, you do not know yet how things operate in a new environment. Your ignorance can be good or bad. Maybe you bring new energy, skills, or talent to the group. Or maybe you spend a lot of time wandering around looking for the bathroom. Whether you are a teenager in a new high school or a grown-up starting a new job, being the new kid on the block is often uncomfortable.
Do you know what is not uncomfortable? Playing. Children do it naturally and effortlessly. So when we say a job is child's play, we mean it is very easy to do. Note that this expression can be a little mean because it suggests that the work is so simple even a child could do it, which is actually its own expression. Let's say in a meeting, one of your coworkers says that she finds creating a spreadsheet really difficult. You say loudly to everyone, "Really? I finished mine in a few minutes. It was child's play. You just input the information."
This makes your coworker angry. She is so angry with you that she looks for a way to get you back. In other words, she might do something mean in return. At lunchtime, she finds her chance. When you step outside for something to eat, you leave all your notes about an important top-secret meeting on your desk. When you return, your coworker is telling everyone else about the details of the meeting, details that no one was supposed to know. You say to her, "Where did you get that information?" She looks at you coldly. "On your desk," she says. It was like taking candy from a baby.
Of course, babies should not be eating candy. But if a baby were eating candy and an adult took it away, the baby could not fight back. He might cry and be upset, but he is helpless compared to the adult. And that is the situation with your coworker. She just walked in and picked up your notes. She is the adult. The notes are the candy, and unfortunately, you are the baby.
Now, if someone takes candy away from a baby, the parents might demand that the person replace it. This isn't so bad. Going to a candy store is fun. For many kids, being in a candy store is pure joy. Wide-eyed and smiling from ear to ear, they run from sweet to sweet, imagining how everything will taste and trying to decide what to choose. So, if someone is very excited about all the possibilities in front of her, we say she is like a kid in a candy store.
For example, whenever I go into a library, I feel like a kid in a candy store. There are so many books I haven't read, and I don't know where to start first. In the summertime, many people around the world wear a kind of casual shoe known as flip-flops. They are completely open, so they keep feet cool in warm weather. They are also good to wear in the shower, at the beach, or by a swimming pool, anywhere wet. Word and shoe experts both agree that flip-flops come from Japan. An article in the New York Times explains that after the Second World War ended, Japan increased its production of rubber. Among other things, workers used rubber to make a version of a traditional Japanese sandal called the zori. Japan exported these rubber zoris all over the world. But the public did not keep the name zori. The rubber sandals became known as flip-flops. Can you hear why? Flip-flop is the sound the shoes make when you walk in them. So that's some information about the flip-flop we wear on our feet. But another way we use the word flip-flop in American English has nothing to do with shoes. When you flip-flop, you completely change your mind on an issue. Not only do you adjust your thinking, but you adopt the exact opposite position. For example, maybe one day you announce to your roommates that you have become a vegetarian. You plan to eat only vegetables, beans, rice, and pasta. But at the end of the week, you make another announcement. You say you've changed your mind, and now you will only eat meat. You have flip-flopped. Word historians say this usage of flip-flop began around 1930 and comes from the world of electronics. Flip-flop referred to switching circuits that alternate between two states. Today, we most commonly use the term flip-flop in politics. Being accused of flip-flopping is usually not good. Let's say you are running for a political office. Early in your political career, perhaps you supported a popular issue, such as tax breaks for businesses. But now supporting that issue is not popular. So during the campaign, you tell voters that you've changed your mind. You are now against tax breaks for businesses. Your opponent could accuse you of being weak, of not knowing what you believe in, or of changing your position to get more votes. A candidate who flip-flops for political gain usually gives a bad impression. Voters come to know you as a flip-flopper. Another more neutral expression that means about the same as flip-flop is to do a 180. By the way, you can spell 180 with either numbers or letters. The pronunciation is the same. If you turn 180 degrees around a circle, you will be facing in the opposite direction. So you can use this term simply to mean turn around. For example, you could say that when your friend saw her ex-boyfriend coming toward her at a party, she did a 180 and quickly walked away. That is the literal meaning. Figuratively, doing a 180 means you completely change your opinion, or you make a big change in your lifestyle. In our earlier example about flip-flopping from being a vegetarian to eating meat, you could also say you did a 180. That expression sounds less critical than flip-flop. At work, you may not want to say that your boss flip-flopped on an important issue. Saying she did a 180 is more polite. You could also say that she reversed her earlier opinion. Better still, you can say her opinion evolved. Using the word evolved gives the impression that she changed her opinion over a long period of time and after thinking about it very carefully. In other words, if you do not want to offend someone, you might want to save your flip-flops for the beach. Like all languages, our expressions come from everywhere. They come from nature, sports, and food. They come from money, culture, music, history. If you name the area, we can find a special word or expression that comes from it. The word we will talk about today comes from technology, bandwidth. The first definition of bandwidth is the range of frequencies within a given band, especially when used for sending an electronic signal. In computing, it means the largest amount of data that can be passed along a specific path. For example, if you are making a video on your computer, it will use more bandwidth than if you were simply creating a document. When we talk about ourselves, and not our computers, bandwidth has a similar meaning. Human bandwidth refers to the total number of issues or amount of information a person can deal with at any given moment. It is the emotional or mental space you need to do something or think about something. When you have lots of bandwidth, you can deal with anything life throws at you. But when you are really busy or seriously worried, you might not have the bandwidth to deal with any additional issues. You simply do not have the time or mental space. We have other expressions that mean almost the same thing as being out of bandwidth. I can say I've hit my limit. I'm up to my neck, up to my eyes, or up to my ears. You can use any of those body parts. With work, responsibility, or fill in the blank. I am swamped. Bandwidth can also simply mean your attention span. For example, let's say you are sitting at your dinner table thinking about an all-consuming problem. In this state, you are not able to focus on anything else. So if someone tries to ask you a question, you can tell them, "Sorry, I do not have the bandwidth to talk to you right now. Come back in about an hour." Now, sometimes we use the word bandwidth when we talk about our brains as computers. An article in Scientific American gives us a good example of this usage. Writer R. Douglas Fields discusses the development of an electronic device worn on the arm that permits the wearer to mentally interact with a computer. He writes, "This achievement opens and expands the bandwidth of the brain's output." Sometimes people use bandwidth to simply mean mental ability. I might say, "Oh, do not try to explain the issue to Alex. He doesn't have the bandwidth for something so difficult." Used this way, it means Alex is not intelligent enough to understand. It is a clear insult, so be careful using it that way. Now, let's hear bandwidth used in this short conversation between two friends.
Okay, let's go over the shopping list. We don't want to forget anything.
Do we have to do that right now?
No, but the party is next month, so time is running out.
There's plenty of time, and right now, I have a lot on my mind.
Come on, you can't be that busy.
Oh, really? Well, today at work, I lost all my documents when my computer crashed.
Well, you have backups of all your documents, don't you?
No, I had just finished writing 3 long stories. I'll have to work overtime the rest of the week or I'll miss my deadline.
Maybe we should change the subject.
Sure. This morning, my sister called to tell me that my great-aunt died.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Only met her once, when I was 10. But my mom can't take care of the funeral plans, so now I have to.
Oh, that's going to take a lot of time.
Yes, it is. But that's not all. Last night, my apartment flooded from a leak in the pipe. So I have to fix it by tomorrow because my boss is coming over for an important dinner meeting.
Wow, you are swamped. Really, up to your neck.
Tell me about it. So please understand if I don't have the bandwidth right now to plan for a party that is a month away.
Well, sounds like someone is out of patience as well as bandwidth.
Today, grab your poles and bait. We are going fishing. Fishing is a popular outdoor activity you can do in lots of different places. You can go ice fishing, deep sea fishing, or fly fishing in a river, to name a few examples.
Whatever type of fishing you do, the equipment is similar. In addition to a fishing pole, you will need a fishing hook, a fishing line, and sometimes a sinker. But in conversation, we don't use the expression hook, line, and sinker when we are talking about catching a fish. We use it to describe fooling someone who is easy to fool. In other words, they are gullible.
When people believe a story, hook, line, and sinker, they accept it completely, even though it is a big, fat lie. Note that the expression usually begins with the verbs buy or fall. For example, he fell for my excuse, hook, line, and sinker. Or, she bought my story, hook, line, and sinker.
But what about people who are not so gullible? When something sounds even the slightest bit fishy, they do not believe it. The word fishy means likely untrue. In other words, something that sounds fishy sounds like a lie. For this one, we also say smells fishy, a phrase I think is even better.
Now, if you tell someone a fish story, you are telling them a story that is so strange or surprising that it seems very unlikely to be true. It is an exaggeration. We tell others fish stories when we want to brag or show off. This expression comes from the fact that people who fish often say their catch is bigger than it really was.
But fish stories don't have to be about fish. We can exaggerate about anything. Take my friend, for example. He loves to tell people about the time he was attacked by a swarm of bees. Each time he tells the story, the amount of bees and bee stings increase. At last count, it was 1,000,000 bees and thousands of stings. It's his very own fish story.
Now, back to real fishing for a minute. Let's say you are planning a long, complicated fishing tour. This is not just a 1 or 2 day trip. It is a fishing expedition. You are not sure what you will catch, but you are going to spend a lot of time and effort trying to catch something.
In conversation, a fishing expedition is very similar. A fishing expedition is a general search. It does not stick to a stated goal, but hopes to uncover useful evidence or information. For example, if a police detective is on a fishing expedition, she may ask all the people who were near a crime in their neighborhood. She does not know if any of them are guilty or if they know anything, but she hopes one of them will give evidence about the crime.
Now, you can fish for many other things too. A writer can fish around for a good story idea. She may ask many people lots of general questions about their lives before finding something interesting to write about. And let's say your coworker asks you a lot of questions about your personal life. He does not have a clear reason why. He just seems to be fishing around for information. It makes you more than a little uncomfortable.
And it should. That's the thing with this expression. When we go fishing for information or evidence or whatever, we do plan to use it. In fact, we can also fish for something to feel better about ourselves. If I am fishing for compliments, I want you to say something nice about me. So, for example, let's say I give you one of my homemade chocolate chip cookies. As you take a bite, you make sounds that show you really like it. Then I ask, "So, how are my cookies?" I know they taste great. I'm just fishing for compliments. Usually, people who fish for compliments annoy others. But in this case, you probably will not feel annoyed. After all, you get to eat a delicious cookie.
Speaking of delicious food, fried fish can also be very tasty. The fish is dipped into a batter and then fried in oil. The bigger the fish, the better. Funny enough, the expression "to have bigger fish to fry" has nothing to do with cooking fish. This expression compares an important problem to a minor one. People who have bigger fish to fry don't have time to deal with a small fish. I mean, problem.
Now, let's hear these expressions used in a conversation between two, co-workers, you could say.
Hey, did you bring another flashlight? My batteries are low.
Of course. I always bring an extra one just in case. But I also have extra batteries if you want those instead.
Just give me the flashlight.
Isn't it helpful that I'm so prepared?
Yes, it is. Now stop fishing for compliments and hand me the screwdriver. We don't have much time to open this lock.
Hey, can I ask you something? Yesterday, Joe from the cafe asked me a lot of questions. I got the feeling he was fishing for information about our, job. Do you think he knows something?
Joe, he doesn't know a thing. What did he ask you?
He wanted to know what I did during the day and how I spend my nights. And then he asked me what I was doing tonight. It was weird.
Sounds like he was just on a fishing expedition. But he also asked me about my plans tonight.
What did you tell him?
I told him I was going to a book club.
A book club? Really? And he fell for that?
Yeah, he fell for it hook, line, and sinker. Didn't doubt it for a minute.
You don't think that excuse sounds kind of fishy? I think it sounds very fishy.
What's so fishy about my going to a book club? Is it so hard to believe I would belong to a book club?
No, it's just that...
I do read,
You're right. I am sorry.
Thank you.
I didn't mean to judge you.
Look, just forget about it. Right now we have bigger fish to fry.
What do you mean?
This is the police. We have you surrounded. Come out with your hands up.
Oh no, the police!
Andy Warhol was an American artist. He was in the limelight of the pop art movement in the 1960s and 1970s. Warhol once said that everybody will be famous for 15 minutes. And he said this long before the arrival of social media and YouTube. Today, you can do anything to become famous. Just look at the Kardashian family. Reality television made the Kardashians famous for just being themselves. It helps that nearly every member of the family seems to like being in front of the camera. They enjoy being in the spotlight. And they have been in the limelight for a lot longer than 15 minutes. They have become household names. This term means exactly as it sounds, names that are well known in many households. In other words, they are very famous. But enough of the Kardashians. Let's go back to those terms. Both limelight and spotlight come from the world of theater. Spotlight is easy to understand. Spotlights are the bright lights used in a theatrical production. They shine light on the most important action in a play. It is where people should be looking. For the history of Limelight, we turn to the Merriam-Webster Online Dictionary. Its explanation is more interesting. A limelight is a lighting instrument. It was used in theaters to light the front of the stage. The light came from a fire. The fire was directed at a box filled with the mineral lime. Then a lens, a piece of glass, would concentrate the brightness, making the light more intense. Merriam-Webster notes that Thomas Drummond, an engineer, invented limelight in 1816. He wanted to make boating safer by lighting dark coastlines. But limelight was too dangerous to be used in lighthouses. In fact, it is a wonder that more of those early theaters equipped with limelight did not burn to the ground. When used as a noun, limelight and spotlight are interchangeable. One word can be used in place of the other. However, spotlight is probably the more common term. The big difference is that English speakers use spotlight as both a noun and a verb. Limelight is only used as a noun, so you could not use limelight in these examples.
The teacher spotlighted a period of ancient history to his students. While the owner of the company is in town, it is important to spotlight any problem that requires her attention.
Now, spotlight and limelight may have both come from the theater, but we use them everywhere.
The basketball player stole the limelight from her teammates with her amazing three-point shots. A wealthy businessman did not want to be in the spotlight of the project and chose to remain in the background.
Situations, issues, and problems can all be spotlighted or can all be in the limelight. Here are two examples.
The real estate agent made sure to spotlight the fact that the house was located in a safe neighborhood with highly rated schools. On the campaign trail, the politicians' personal scandals were very much in the limelight.
To be in the limelight or the spotlight means that you are the object of public attention. As the expression goes, all eyes are on you. You have taken center stage. This is also a theater term. In the theater, the center of the stage is usually a place everyone can see. The actor taking center stage is easy to recognize. However, that does not mean that the actor taking center stage can't be upstaged by another actor. Upstaged means to direct attention away from something. People can be upstaged. For example, when two people are married, the bride is supposed to be in the limelight. She often wears a beautiful white gown. It would be in very poor taste to upstage the bride by wearing something white and even more eye-catching. No one is supposed to upstage the bride. An issue can also upstage another. For example, let's say the main issue of the parent-teacher meeting was supposed to be raising money for the school. But that issue was upstaged by the discovery that the principal was fired. All the parents wanted to know more about the scandal. So just remember, anything that has been upstaged is no longer center stage. It's no longer in the limelight or spotlight.